Welcome this week's episode of Nitty Gritty. We have Chatbooks with us, Vanessa and Nate Quigley.
Hello, hello.
How's it going?
Thank you for coming.
Why did you say Vanessa first? Any reason?
I know. I love that you
He's
said
smart.
That's
I'm married. That's why.
I've learned a lot today. I think I'm going to be able to improve my marriage.
Yeah.
Nate just said you do what you're told,
Yeah,
and things just become easier.
for sure.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're learning every day,
That seems easy enough.
but we're excited to have you guys with us.
Great to be here.
So Vanessa, actually, backstory is the older sister of Raising Wild, of Kara and Shelley that were with us, right?
Some of our
Yes.
favorite guests.
yes, and it was a very proud sissy moment to listen to that episode and hear them break it down. They didn't hold anything back.
No, they didn't, and it
They
was
also
fun.
held each other the whole time.
Yeah, like at the video the whole
it's
time.
so
Every
funny.
conversation was just
Well, you know what?
I
We
loved it.
love each other. People always ask, you guys can't really like each other that much, right? Because sometimes sisters fight.
and a lot of you.
Yeah, there are a lot of us. Well, and I am old. I am the old lady of the family. They're the little girls. I grew up calling them the little girls because I'm at least 8 years older than my next sister. I didn't really get to know them until I was married, and I had a bunch of little kids of my own, and I would hire them to come nanny for me.
Oh.
Actually, I think Mom would just fly
Wow.
them out, and they would nanny for free. But they are the most fun, and yeah, they're awesome.
It looks like you guys had a good time on your cruise because you guys went on that right after they
Yes.
came in and recorded the episode. So we were
It was
paying
awesome.
attention.
Nate loves when we go on sister trips.
I do
Don't you,
actually.
darling?
No, I've grown to love it, babe. It was great. Your cruise was
Because
fantastic.
I come home refreshed
Yep.
and happy and
It's perfect.
frisky and excited.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa!
Here we go.
It's the smoke. It's
Gosh,
going to my
this
head.
family's awesome. What a great family. They're just so open.
You met Mama Muns, didn't you?
Yeah, I hugged her. I gave her a big old
You need
hug
to
out
get
in the
Mama
restaurant.
Muns on a podcast.
She would be
Oh,
hilarious.
she's actually my guest on my podcast next week.
Are you
Is she
kidding?
really?
Yes,
Let's do a tour.
It's yeah,
Next stop here.
some good
We
content
just
right
need
there.
to have all the Munn sisters in here and just do a big round table. It'd
Party.
be worth the price of the microphones.
Yes.
Get them all in here.
So,
Oh, man.
but yeah, Chatbooks. It's funny because we've had, I don't know which clients, customers of you guys, probably since close to when you started. We have a closet of Chatbooks that our kids love
Thank
going
you.
through.
Yay.
And
Yay.
so
Amazing. Thank
it's
you.
so much fun, and we forget about them sometimes. And I was just on a trip, and Mom was like, "I got them down," and our kids were just pouring through them over
That's so
and
cool.
over again.
Oh, that makes me so
and
happy.
so, love what you guys do. So, really quick for those who don't know what Chatbooks is, why don't you guys give a really quick intro into
Do
what
you think
Chatbooks
they even know
is?
what podcasting is? If they don't know what chatbooks are?
If you're listening to this podcast, I
You know?
hope you know.
You're right.
Look, if you have
Let's
I'm
describe
just
what
joking.
social media
I'm
is
just
too while we're at it. Okay.
Okay, well, Chatbooks are little books that are full of your pictures.
Yeah.
And we started this company to make it super easy to get your photos off of your phone and off of social media and into the hands of your family. And so Nate here built a team of developers that created this magical app that would, at first, when the company first started, would take all of my Instagram photos and then just spit out series of books. And it was like automatic scrapbooking. I used to be a big scrapbooker in the 90s. When I had my first baby, I would take photos of everything and then print them off at Costco, and then with my paper and scissors and stamps and pens, create works of art, which then I would have to beg people to, here, sit, don't you want to look at my scrapbook? And I knew they would be treasures for the family one day, but we have 7 kids now. And so starting around kid number 4, I think Aiden has maybe 2 pages in his baby book.
Isn't that
But
funny how that
5, 6,
happens?
and 7, nothing. Literally nothing. Our 6-year-old one night, we had put everyone to bed, and I could hear him just sobbing up in his room, which is very unlike Declan. Declan is the jolliest kid on the planet.
Declan loves Bam Bams, by the way.
Oh.
'cause
Really?
He's popping here before you go to the batting cage. This is a really,
What?
you know the batting cage right next
Yeah,
door?
yeah, of course.
Pablo. So this is his favorite stop on the way to or after a batting cage.
Jeez, that makes me
session.
happy. I need to go over there and talk to Pablo.
this is
Start
a
doing some package deals.
Yeah, that would be great.
Brisket and batting practice.
Yeah, ooh,
works.
it's a great marketing campaign.
They're the happiest kid in the world, and then
Yeah, so he's up there bawling his eyes out, and I'm like, buddy, what is wrong? And he's like, Mama, I never want to grow up, which was adorable because he was 5.
Right?
But
6. Sorry, you said 6. I just want to keep it consistent.
Okay, all right. Keep the story
gonna
straight.
quality
I mean,
check
this is
that.
our origin
Awkward.
story.
Yeah, but
Anyway, he rolls over and he's clutching to his chest this little photo album his preschool teacher had made for him. She took pictures of like the field trips and the parties and all the things they did throughout the year, printed those photos off, and each kid graduated with a little photo album. And I'm so glad that she did that because that was literally all he had to hold on to, all he had to show for his little life at that point. And anyway, I calmed him down and I told him everything's going to be okay. You know what? I actually have more pictures. You remember when we went to Ireland, and you remember when we went to the beach, and you remember when we went to visit the cousins in Florida? And he didn't really remember. And I was trying to figure out, how am I going to solve this problem? I'm never going to scrapbook again, even though I've kept all of my supplies. They take up a massive amount of space in my house. But what's the solution? And I just had a thought that I've been using Instagram to share highlights of our lives. Basically, his entire life has kind of been chronicled on Instagram. Man, if I could just print those photos, then he would have something more to show. And so I suggested to my wonderful husband here that perhaps that was an idea he'd like to pursue.
Suggested. She kind of came down the stairs, hot, like full redhead mode.
That's an embellishment right there.
I will never use that thing you're building. Because I had actually already had a team. We were building a software product about family memories, but it was way too complicated and nobody wanted to use it, including my wife.
I tried. It just required a lot of you had to sit down and open your computer and then write some tome or.
My mom was
Required a lot of work.
My mom used it. But Vanessa came down pretty hot and said, I will never use that thing. No one I know will ever use that thing. We don't want to do any of that. Just print my Instagram. And
you walked out of the room with your son, and that was
down the
conversation.
Stairs, I'm at the kitchen
I had
table.
this aha moment. But listen. He had not received a paycheck for 2 years up to this point. We moved our family from Florida, where I am from and where I love, 3 minutes from the beach, moved to Utah, where I said I would never live in Utah. Uprooted our family, and here we are. We've been living in Utah for 6-9 months, and still no one was using the software that he built. No one was paying us any money, and things needed to change.
It's hard to defend your position when you have
Totally.
a paycheck in 2.5 years or so.
Right.
You're kind of like, yeah, that's a good idea. We should try that. And I was humbled enough at that point to be super attentive when she had this idea. I'm like, that is a great idea.
Right.
And so the next day at the office, we just said, let's put all these millions of lines of code aside. Let's just pretend like we don't have them. And let's
That
just
had
start
to be
from
hard to do.
scratch. Yeah, because it's you get all the sunk cost stuff.
For sure.
You're just we're so far down this road. We're on version 20 million or whatever we're on. But we didn't have any users, and we didn't have any revenue, and we didn't have any kind of hope at all of getting anywhere. And so we just shoved it off to the side for a couple of weeks and built a version of Chatbooks, super simple version of Chatbooks that would at least let us get some sample books to show people. And that was the awesome part. As soon as we showed Vanessa's sisters, who you've interviewed, their friends, Vanessa's friends, the first sample books, people just immediately said, I want that. How do I get that?
Right.
Take my credit card. And no one had ever said that to us before, but any of the other stuff we'd show them. So we got excited about it.
How long did you hold that over his head, Vanessa? Just you and your million lines of code.
It was part of the journey. Sometimes you're led down the wrong road to know that you're heading in the right direction.
Because I heard something in that tone when she was talking about the no paycheck for 2 years. I mean, there's still something there.
No, it was real. I mean, but
Right.
I needed it. I think to get me to listen well enough, I had to
Sure.
be kind of that deep into the wilderness and that hungry.
That makes sense.
Because we had people from the very get-go with the thing we've been building before say, hey, that's really cool, and yeah, I should totally use that, which of course means they'll never use that. I should
Right.
totally use that. But then they would also say, what I really want is the stuff in a book. And I'd be like, oh, no, you don't.
No, print is dead.
Print is dead.
You don't want that. But that's the tricky thing about being an entrepreneur, that once you come up with an idea, part of you just has to hold on to it no matter what anyone says.
Sure.
That, he was convinced that this was the solution for family memories, a cloud-based family tree that was going to connect all of your family and your friends like family in a private way of sharing. I mean, kudos to him for
Right.
being stubborn's not the word.
Let's see. What's
single,
a good word? Let's say
singularly
thesaurus.
focused
I'm
on
stubborn.
what you wanted. But at some
Something a little
point,
better
when,
than that.
You
when
gotta
you
believe in it, right?
at some point, as you have your focus group there, and they say over and over again, "Yeah, this is great. I should totally do that. Can I get it in a book?"
Yeah.
You need to recognize that. Hey, these are my customers.
You need
my
your wife to
potential
come down the
customers.
stairs with a head of steam and say, "Just print my Instagram, dummy."
Well, aren't we glad it worked out that way?
We are glad.
For sure. Well, and thank you, Declan, right?
Yeah, I know, and he does like to take credit.
He does.
Declan will
Oh,
not
yes.
Oh, I
let
play
that
that
drop.
card for sure. If I
he
can,
does.
I'm playing
Absolutely.
that card a lot.
It's like
He's
the
the-
will better be about
He's like, there wouldn't even be a
51%
Chatbooks without me.
for Declan.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why he needed a new iPhone because
Yeah.
he needs it for the Chatbooks.
That's
It is-
awesome.
It is funny though. The aha. I mean, you kind of think of Karen Shelley's. Kara having a bathing suit,
Yeah, I was there,
Snap.
and that is exactly how that happened.
and all the little groms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they realized we got to make our own.
Yep.
And it's funny how that happens. It's pretty cool. Same with Betty's beds last week. So I mean, and so like entrepreneurial wise, I mean, I guess your family, we kind of know that. I mean, your dad was a lawyer. Your mom was just kind of like DIY.
Hey,
like,
my mom had 10 kids, and she was still writing up business plans and
Right.
having meetings with women about the businesses that they were going to build. She never really got a profitable business off the ground,
Right.
But she started an orphanage in India that she managed, from the States, and then
Right.
multiple trips to India. I mean, she showed me that you can do anything.
for sure.
You can juggle a dozen kids and a business and a
Sew
nonprofit.
dresses for
and
photos.
sew dresses and
That was crazy with all those girls.
She's pretty amazing. So yeah, I come from a long line of entrepreneurs and do-it-yourselfers.
Right. What about you, Nate? I mean, you were doing your own thing at the time, right?
So this was, this is actually the third company that we've worked on since kind of graduating.
When he says we, he means he, and I've just been cheering from the
But hold on,
sidelines
there's
because
no way we could have done it had you not been on board, though.
no,
Right.
and that is fact. So,
Right.
and I do appreciate you
So I
say,
say we
when
every
you
time.
say we went to business school, people
We
are always
did.
like, "Oh, you went too?" And I'm like, well, "I was there, and I took care of a lot of stuff. Well, I made it possible."
Well, there's no, but I mean, I do feel like we've been co-founders for a long time. We founded our little family, 7 kids, and to start, for me to be able to start companies while we were founding the 7-kid part of the enterprise, like
Right.
there's just no way we could have done it had you not been fully on board and willing to be supportive and super patient.
I'm glad you
many
recognize
times.
that, and I
Jeez,
do
this
appreciate
is
that you
good.
give me
I
credit.
like where this is going.
But-
Let's hold
This is
hands,
romantic.
Charlie.
Honey, this
I mean, we've heard
Seriously,
frisky,
get over here.
frosty, redhead, hot redhead,
Oh man,
and now we are like I couldn't have done it without you,
that was
sweetheart.
that was a tender moment.
Man,
But I will say
it was.
he is an entrepreneur at heart,
Right.
and always wanted to talk about starting a business together, and like that was like his idea of fun pillow talk. It's like,
hey, the
let's
first
talk about the kind
idea-
of business we'd like to do together.
Sweet. Vanessa, the first business I got you to buy. It's true. I was always trying to talk about what businesses could we start together. She never wanted to talk about it, except for the scrapbooking supplies business.
Oh, that's
that was the very first business we ever
true.
talked about starting together. That was back in 1996.
Because I was into scrapbooking,
Right.
and we were living in Utah, finishing up school, and then we moved to Santa Monica, California. And I'm like, where am I going to get my supplies?
Right.
And there was no.
I have no access to Pebbles in my pocket. This is before you could, do all your shopping online. And so I'm like, we're starting a scrapbook store. And he got excited about it, and we started scoping out space.
and it was like internet time. Had we actually stopped for half a second and built an e-commerce scrapbook store, probably would have worked just fine.
Oh yeah.
But I was pretty busy with my first job, so we didn't do it.
And I
We
had
just
another
talked about
baby, and another, and another. And
Too
And
much pillow
she-
talk.
She was singing in operas.
no, I had no interest in starting a business with him. I didn't know how we could be business partners because it just felt like he's always been the boss of his world, and I'm
Right.
always the boss of my world. And like, how can two bosses work together?
Sure.
And plus, I wouldn't really have a thing for business. I was more of a singer.
Yeah, 'cause you're a
actress.
trained opera singer, right?
Yes, and I wanted to pursue the stage. I didn't want to be doing a business.
She did. You retired and had comebacks like 6 or 7 times.
I know. I'm
between
waiting for
each
my
baby.
next big comeback.
Yeah. Well, you've got your comeback.
Your
You're a
reunion
podcaster.
tour.
Oh, yeah. that's
You can
not the
sing on there.
same.
You should sing on the podcast.
Maybe I
then.
should write like a jingle.
I was
There you
going to
go.
say
Yeah.
you could
That's
do the
your
intro
and
music.
outro.
Oh my
Well, the intro music is actually our daughter Lakin's music that we repurposed.
Really?
Yeah, Lakin's a
Yeah.
singer-songwriter, and Vanessa needed some intro music real quick, and she snagged some of Lakin's stuff.
Wow.
Yeah,
there
so you
it
have to
is.
listen. The little instrumental, I took her voice out of it, but when I first let her listen to it, and I'm like, "Hey, are you looking for the nitty gritty tips and tricks for all the things mom life?" And she's like, "Mom, this is so weird."
How interesting that
Wait a
you
minute.
said nitty gritty.
I know.
What? That's your intro. Says
That is in my
nitty-gritty.
intro.
Is it
That's
really?
what we do. Yeah, we give moms the nitty gritty.
You guys were such an
About mom
inspiration
life.
to Vanessa.
That's right.
You
The
know,
Mom Force podcast.
We'll take credit for that now.
You and Declan
Yeah.
started the
us
whole
and
thing.
Declan, we're in the will.
Hey, but back to the entrepreneurial roots.
Right.
It's in my blood,
Right.
not necessarily in Nate's blood.
My dad was a longtime professional services guy. He was a career Deloitte accountant
Okay.
and had a really long, successful career as a professional services
Retired
guy.
as global CEO, so
Well,
very
that's something
successful.
I wanted to talk. You both kind of casually grazed about education, but it wasn't casual. I mean, you both you got your bachelor's from BYU, both of
BYU.
you, right?
Yes.
Yep.
You were a professional opera singer. You went and worked for McKinsey, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
But then your business school was not just business school; it was Harvard.
Went to Harvard Business School Vanessa
Yeah, I get credit.
and I for just 2 years. And then leaving business school, the smart and logical thing would have been to go back to McKinsey, which of course we didn't do.
Which your dad probably wanted you to do because that was the path, right?
The amazing thing
That was
about
the
Dad
path.
is he's never been like, you should do this. But, I mean, that would have made a lot of sense to him.
I am sure in his heart he thought you were insane.
Which is so great. I have so much respect for my dad. I mean, he's just an absolute superhero. He's, all that stuff. But yeah, you're right. Coming out of business school with a ton of business school debt. I mean, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
And if you go back to McKinsey for 18 months, they would have forgiven all the debt. They would have paid for business school. And they're, the compensation package is great. The work is interesting. The colleagues are awesome. All
What
these
is
things.
McKinsey?
One of the top consulting companies in the world.
Oh, sorry. I just went to Wasatch High School. I talked the teacher into letting me graduate, and that's where it all stopped. So,
Well, it's worked out okay, Cameron. Because
yeah,
yeah,
got
exactly.
some hockey jerseys on the wall.
There's
signed.
You're doing just fine.
But-
Own a business.
My dad never once said, like, are you insane? Like, why would you start a company? You
That's
should
very
for
cool.
sure go back to McKinsey for at least 2 years. He just didn't even try to push me one way or the other at all. He was super supportive. Although, kind of, I wish he would have pushed me back to McKinsey for a couple of years.
Just to get that paid for.
Hey, I tried to push you back to McKinsey. Did you not hear
I don't
me
remember you saying that.
doing that?
Anyway,
Saying.
so we started a little
Probably when
software
you didn't have a
company.
paycheck coming in.
So
She
right
said
out
to
of
do that.
Harvard is when you started kind of the entrepreneur route.
Yeah, started a software company. It was pretty boring software. It was enterprise
Was it from
software.
colleagues from Harvard?
Nope. It was another guy who had an office in Harvard Square, the guy who had started Nantucket Nectars. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was kind of a Snapple competitor.
It's a drink of the 90s.
It was on the East Coast, it was like you wanted to have a Nantucket Nectars instead of a Snapple if you were far enough up the coast.
Snapple was so big. Remember?
The pop.
It was.
Well, Nantucket Nectars was started by Tom and Tom. And they were the founders. Their picture was on the label, their little founding story. And
And they're amazing entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
just absolutely awesome guys. And I was really excited about the chance to work with one of the Toms, Tom First, who wanted to start a software company. So I was going to try to transform myself from the professional services business school guy into entrepreneur with the help of this awesome proven entrepreneur, Tom First. And I learned a ton from him just in like the first couple of years about how different it was from to like instead of opening up your laptop and making a spreadsheet and making a PowerPoint chart, like you go out and sell something. and Tom just did an amazing job of helping me kind of make the move from kind of nerdy spreadsheet kid to sales guy.
So with your background, when you were thinking of Chatbooks, did you go kind of the scholastic, I'm going to have this business plan and a marketing plan? I mean, you have like all that kind of stuff ready, or is it more kind of fire, ready, aim kind of thing?
more like that. More like I want to use this thing. It should work like this. Let's build it. And I had an amazing technical co-founder, Steve Bentz, who also is a big barbecue guy, and I'll introduce you sometime. But he can sort of build anything. And so the two of us had been working together at the second company, and just convinced him to leave and start writing this next thing together. But unfortunately, I was building what I wanted to use, not what anyone else on the planet wanted to use, until Vanessa intervened.
Thankful you have a wife.
Yes.
I just wish I had spoken up sooner. I was distracted doing my own thing. I was doing a lot of shows, and we had 7 kids, and trying to get our oldest graduated from high school, and I was just like, "Yeah, is that thing working yet?"
How long you kept?
man.
I think you thought it was going to work. I think you were like, he's
Well, you
not
know
a
what?
total idiot.
Because-
Like he'll figure it out eventually.
That is the thing. He's smart, and things work out for him.
Yeah.
Everything in his life has worked out for him. And I had
Not
100% confidence. No, but look at us now. We have
Thank
a company.
goodness you intervened. You intervened at the right
We've
time.
been growing for 5 years.
That's
Right.
true.
And
Yep.
you get to have your dream come true. We get to do it together.
I know.
That's what you always wanted.
It's true, and it's about scrapbooking, just like we
know.
always knew.
Look at us.
We're just
and we're living in Utah, which
yeah.
turns out this is where he wants to be buried. He
I
loves
do.
it here.
I love it in Utah.
Really?
I love it here.
Where did you grow up?
Connecticut.
Really?
Yeah.
His roots are here, though. His parents are both from Utah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, something that's interesting, we've had a lot of people on the podcast where spouses work together, but it was usually after the fact. Like more times than not, our guests have been the wife has started a business, become really successful, and then the husband has in turn joined later.
In this case, it was the husband started a business, was super unsuccessful, and the wife intervened to save the day.
But it's awesome. You guys started from scratch as partners.
Yeah.
So from day one, you made the conscious decision that you were going to do this together.
Wrong. No, that's not
Oh,
true.
sorry.
Because actually, I had this idea, and
That's
I'm like,
true.
you
She's
should
like,
go
"Run
build
with that.
this.
Print my Instagram. See you later." Is kind of what.
And he did. And then the first version came back with teal green covers on them. And I'm like, ugh, I don't know if I would choose that color. I don't know if that's a great color. No, that's our color. That's a brand. We want to get it out there. We're going with it. I'm like, okay, whatever. And he's like, no, we're selling them for $6. Oh, I don't know if that's a good idea. That just feels like, nope, we're doing it $6. We're going to talk about it. And I'm like, okay. It's
So she
your
had to do a
thing.
more permanent intervention, meaning like join the company and make
No.
sure we didn't do anything crazy.
He was asking me to come on, and the more like things started to progress and it started to grow, I thought, wow, this is something I really care about. And this is actually solving a problem that I have. Like, I know what our customers want.
Sure.
Because you
And-
are your
It's a mom
customer,
product.
right?
for sure.
Exactly. And, yeah, I have no business background or skills. I mean, I never took a business class. Even as a voice major, we had to take a business course to like help us set up our home studio because, let's be honest, most professional singers make their money teaching.
Right.
I remember nothing from that class. But we had all these guys working for the company, dev and Q&A, and nobody was telling the story. No one was doing
it
marketing
was
except for
5
Heather.
guys.
And Heather. We had
And Heather,
an amazing
thank goodness
photographer,
for
Heather
Oh my
Mildenstein.
goodness, she saved the day.
But I could see a need for someone to get in there and tell the story, fill this marketing role. And honestly, with Google, you can figure anything out. So
Sure.
I remember calling him one morning. He had gone off to work, and I just couldn't get it off my mind that I need to come join the team formally. And I called. Do you remember?
I do. It was
I
an
called
amazing
to say,
moment.
honey, I think it's time. I think it's time for me to come. And you were like, yes, yes, yes. And so,
I can't get over that part, which I think it's really, I hope you appreciate that part. Because I
What?
don't know how many husbands are like actively trying to get
We're
their
holding
wife.
hands
Like,
again
I
right now.
want my wife to work with me. I will make it work. It's kind of adorable.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna lie.
Is it cute? It's cute.
It is cute. And man, he's
I
a
really did.
Northeasterner. They're not supposed to be these like soft, sweet people.
I mean, at this point, we'd known, but we'd had 3 years where we were like, oh, we're going to build this thing and it'll be great. At that point, it was like, I think we realized 5 guys are not going to build the thing that moms are going to want to buy. We're not going to market it properly. We're not going to talk about it properly. So we did, Vanessa mentioned, we found Heather Mildenstein, who's also local here in Provo. Incredible photographer, had an amazing sense of what the brand needed to look like and sound like. She built, started our Instagram and, just ran it on her own without any input from anybody. It was just perfect and amazing. So Heather was really helpful. But having someone there full time every day in the office to make sure we weren't just, running off into the weeds again was so helpful.
Well, especially with software guys. It seems like every time I've worked with, I don't know if we call them IT guys or web developer type guys.
Yeah, that's good.
They have their own ideas of what things are supposed to look like, and it's like, listen, you need to dumb yourself down to my level, and that's what you want. And it is. Sometimes it is hard to get through to them. Like,
Well,
They want it to be
but this is them
minimalistic
as
and
me.
clean.
I mean,
and-
unfortunately, I was
Right.
always. I came out. The first two businesses were enterprise software companies or enterprise systems companies. So it was like you're selling to really sophisticated buyers.
Sure.
And to win the competition against SAP or Siebel, you have to kind of go toe to toe on features. So I think my first two businesses were, building the thing that was a little more sophisticated, a little more powerful than the incumbent thing had was kind of where I came from. I wasn't like thinking all that through, but I think that was just kind of why I always landed on let's add 6 more features.
The most
as a solution to every
complicated
problem.
solution
Right.
to this
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
When in the end, what we had tacked up on the board in the office was lizard brain, 0 clicks. Like we want to build
Yeah.
something that no one has to think about.
But I had to write those things down. Like that wasn't as obvious to me as it should have been.
Like with crayons.
In a big marker we wrote lizard books.
Well,
Like,
here's
oh,
the,
these
I mean,
things.
look at your education, your path, right? You were taught complexity and
Yeah, maybe.
sophistication, all that kind of stuff, and
I think that
it
because that's how
helps.
the first two businesses succeeded was, just figuring stuff out that wasn't in the market yet, and then finding some crazy person who needed to buy the more, powerful solution was how we got the ball rolling in our first two businesses.
But in the end, we should have really just focused on who is our customer.
Yep.
It's a busy mom who is already juggling a gazillion things and has this enormous mental load. They don't want to make a million decisions when they open this app.
Yeah.
That commercial you have on your website. What is her name again?
Lisa Valentine
I
Clark.
love her.
She's the
I
best.
feed
Too.
Johnson Files whenever
She's
they
the
do shows.
absolute
Yeah.
best.
And she was in their last one, and she is so nice. But it's spot on,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Exactly.
that's the video that went viral for you guys, right?
Yeah.
In 2 days, had 3 million views.
Something
I
like
think it
that.
ended up at over 100 million views after not too long.
It's
it was
crazy.
amazing.
Who was in charge of the market? So when you got started, was it all social? Like, and did you kind of take over that for Chatbooks on how to get them out there? Like, how did that work?
It was Vanessa and Heather were definitely the marketing team in the early days. Through like 2015.
Yeah, I would say Heather was mostly
Hey,
doing
we did build
the,
a complicated, cool thing that worked, though. This gets
Megatron.
forgotten. We built Megatron, this Decepticon robot that would plug into the Instagram API in the old days when there were very few rules, and scrape all these profiles of people with large followings and lots of engagement and their email in their profile. And so this
wow.
robot was like doing that overnight. And it had this big, huge, complicated contraption that my friend JD Gardner, another awesome entrepreneur locally, came up with. And it would email these people a picture of our daughter holding a stack of books, and the top book had this. We'd superimposed their most liked photo of the year on top of it.
No way.
And it said, "Hey, we want to send this to you. Click this button, give us your mailing address so we can send it to you." That would go through this other big crazy gonculator, and we would then print with like an affiliate marketing code that would go inside their book, and it was just sending like hundreds of these a week.
Holy crap.
So basically anyone who had an email address
If
associated
you had an
with
email
their-
address and a large following and decent engagement, and then we had to add the Maria Philippines layer, so we weren't sending them to like strippers every day. Because we went into here's another funny moment from Chatbooks history. It was
Not exactly the influencers we
think
want
it was-
representing the brand.
It was the Thanksgiving weekend of 2014, and we had
Oh
the
my
first big Megatron batch had been made. And I took Claire, our daughter, who was like 10 at the time, and one of our other, I think Isabel was like probably 8, or I don't know. We went down to the print shop to stuff these envelopes of all the Megatron books. This is like in the early days. And I walk in, and it's all the books have been laid out on the conference room table. And I was like, whoa, hold on a second. I just started like chucking them off I was just like shoving them off the table. It was just a lot of skin. And so then we found a woman in the Philippines and we built another little contraption for her to go through, and like all the things that Megatron found, she would be red button or green button based on the amount of skin showing.
Wow.
Click, 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 click. But Megatron was awesome. That was kind of our marketing engine
That's
for
crazy.
2015.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
we
so
need
that-
a bot for buying Jordan shoes.
Yeah.
We've been talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we know a guy now.
I think we know someone who can help us out.
And then 2016
Megatron
was
needs new shoes.
Megatron does need new shoes.
2016 was Lisa and Real Mom, and the Harmon brothers here locally did just an unbelievable job producing that video, and
Yeah.
it just was perfectly timed, and everything went great.
Wow.
Yeah, we still get a lot of lift from that too, and a lot of comments on social.
Well,
It's
I'd
a
never
good
seen
one.
it until just before you came in.
Oh,
Has
I
your
went
wife
to the
seen
website.
it?
Oh, of course. Like
Okay.
we have Chatbooks all over too.
You do?
But I've never really like my wife made, I think the first 3 years the restaurant was open, she like did a chat book for the Bam Bam's
So
Instagram.
awesome.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I know
That's
we
when
are
she
selling
stopped
books,
loving
but
me
isn't it,
after the
Nate?
first
Isn't
3
it always
years, but-
kind of crazy when you meet
No,
people who
it's
actually
totally crazy.
know what we're doing
It's-
and
it's
like what we're
weird.
doing?
It's
I know,
awesome.
It is amazing. It's awesome.
How have you guys been able to balance business, partnership, home, husband, wife? Like, how have you been able to like leave work at the office and come home and be mom and dad?
We just don't, basically.
I mean, we try, but like the word balance in itself just like creates stress because you're never going to have that balance.
Yep.
I think you try to set boundaries.
No, we don't.
I do.
Okay, I don't.
Have you noticed that I'm not plugging my phone in next to my bed anymore?
I'm very impressed with
I'm
that.
plugging
But
my
that's
phone in
not,
the hall.
It has nothing to do with the business and everything to do with
It-
your addiction to Instagram.
No, it's not. But Instagram is part of the business.
Okay.
But also, like, it's really hard for me to turn my brain off, and I make a deliberate choice to come home when my kids get home from school. So I'm not at the office 9 to 5. I try to be home when they get home, and it's really hard for me to turn my brain off. But I also know I'm not doing my kids any favors if I'm still working in my brain while I'm with them. So I work really hard on trying to turn it off. I think the fact that Nate and I have this in common is like adds a new fun, may I say exciting dimension to our relationship because we have like so much more to talk about. And I'm learning so much because this is like my first experience in the business world and I'm relating to him so much more. In fact, I remember when we were in our first board meeting, honey, and I know you've been in plenty of board meetings, traveling. I mean, this is what he's done his whole career. And he was up there leading the meeting and I just thought to myself,
Oh, my goodness.
that is a man right now. So I thought to myself,
This couple. The
fight started.
I loved him more than I've ever loved him.
I'm holding
because-
a
Good job,
I'm
man.
holding a green whiteboard marker. I was like, that is a man.
No, but now babe, I finally understood what you
What I've been
did, what
doing
you've
my
been
whole
doing,
life.
and
Yeah.
how hard it is, and how stressful it is, and like all of those years when you were starting and running those other businesses. And I just wanted you to get home and help put kids to bed and pick up and, can you fold this laundry? I had no context with what your day was full of. And all of a sudden it was like wide open to me. And it just
It
made
has
me
been
love
fun.
you
We've
even more.
talked about Chatbooks as like being a family farm because our kids are totally bought into it too.
Right.
And they think of us one day selling Chatbooks. They can't even get their minds
No,
around
they
it. They're
cannot
like,
handle it. They
Why would
never
you
want
ever
us
do
to do
that?
that.
Like it's so it's our thing our family does.
Right.
Well,
So-
your mission statement is strengthen families,
Yeah.
which is super cool. That's such an intentional focus. You've talked about even, the workforce and everything you can tell that is
Yeah.
a focus of what you guys do.
I got to pump the brakes on something here, though. So, my wife and I have our ups and downs. We're a little different, and so we're in one of those like trying to make things better deals. And you brought up a point that just came up in marriage counseling last week,
Uh-oh.
What?
and I think that it's really cool to hear you say it because one thing that I brought up with the counselor was it's easy for me to see how stressful her day is because I spend time at home and I see the chaos and everything else. But she can't see anything that I'm doing. And so my day doesn't apply to however she's feeling at the moment when I walk in the door. Right? Mm-hmm. So she's always just like, I need your help. And it's just like, I had to fire somebody today, or somebody wrecked the trailer, and so I think it's a very cool thing that you said. I think it's something that people need to pay attention to. It's if you don't really know what's going on during the day, you got to give the person the benefit of the doubt and maybe realize that they had a stressful day too. So how cool that you got to kind of get the front row seat, and how cool for Nate.
Yeah, it's
to
great.
just feel like,
Yeah.
men were tough, right? But we still like that validation and, feeling appreciated.
I just wish I had learned that years
Right.
earlier because I definitely did feel that way. I mean, even when we lived in Paris for a while, right next to the Eiffel Tower. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous. But he would get on the train Monday morning and come home Thursday night. And that was hard for me
Sure.
because I had 2 kids and I was pregnant and I was trying to learn a language for the first time. And he would come home and I would just want to dump everything on him and have my own little vacation because
Right.
it felt like what he was doing felt like a vacation.
She always,
compared to
when
what
I
was
would
doing.
like business travel for her before Chatbooks was like going on vacation. She's
Right.
like, you get to do crossword puzzles and take naps on the plane.
Sleep alone
And
in your own bed.
it was so fun for her to have some trips set up that she didn't want to go on because I was always trying to get out of like any business trip. If I could cancel a
Right.
business trip at the last second, I'd be like, this is the greatest.
Right.
And Vanessa didn't get that until she was finally trying to get out of a few travel commitments she had to do and had to present somewhere, and it was stressful.
Right.
Yeah,
It's not as fun.
It has been actually
Not
really
as fun as it
awesome.
looks.
yeah.
But that's really cool, I think. And plus to have the other thing you were talking about too is a mutual interest.
Yeah.
And I mean, to have that to kind of talk about and bounce off of each other, super cool.
It's been really fun. It's been awesome.
Something-
And fun with the kids too. Just not leave the kids out of it. Like we've had,
The kids love it. No.
I mean, Calvin, Lakin, Henry have all been interns. Aiden and his buddies assembled
wow.
a bunch of office furniture. Claire helped me stuff a bunch of envelopes once I got rid of all the stripper books.
yeah.
It's been really fun for the kids to feel really involved in the business too, family farm style. So we don't even talk about balancing. We're just, you're right. You absolutely do. Vanessa's been working super hard to like have the computer closed when the kids are home and want to talk. But we talk about Chatbooks when we're hanging out together
Yeah.
as a family.
I like asking the question because I don't believe in balance. So I use the word harmony instead.
Ooh.
Because I feel like balance in my mind, it's always like you got to even out
Yeah.
the two sides. So if I'm working this many hours, you should be with the family. But it's like you just find that harmony.
Yeah.
And
That's cool.
you know, every
My dad
stage is
uses
going to
the
be a
word
little bit
integration.
different.
He's
Yeah.
just like, you got to just integrate your work and your life. You're
Yeah.
not
Well,
gonna
this
get
is the
work-life
thing.
balance.
Your
Yeah, I
life
like
can
that.
feel like work too.
For sure.
Like, yeah.
For
I
sure.
love that harmony.
So something else that
Ooh.
is pretty cool. Let's,
Don't turn away from the mic when you do that.
Well, I needed someone to harmonize with me. I knew he wouldn't.
Not
no one's
be
going to
me.
harmonize that in this room.
We're not going to ruin that.
You're in the wrong room for that. But I mean, a couple of cool things. You guys started in 2014, right? That's when Chatbooks launched.
That's when we sold the first Chatbook.
That's when
But as we've heard earlier in the podcast, there were 2.5 years of wilderness before then.
Yeah.
But necessary wilderness.
Yes, that's right, Cameron.
Like
It
I
was
think
important.
I think that is a big part of it.
Yep.
I mean,
I
it
bring
did.
that-
It did give us all the scars of like, do not make people do anything hard,
right.
right? And that's directed all of our product and marketing ever since. Is like people just don't need another job to do. And
Sure.
And it seems really easy, right? My favorite quote is simplicity is like the ultimate sophistication.
Yeah.
So even though it's really simple, there's a lot going on behind the scenes
Yeah.
to make it that way.
Yeah.
So it's really cool what you've done. But just 3 years after launching, you guys were named the Ernst & Young Entrepreneurs of the Year. So it's so cool that just within a matter of years, you guys had already built the business to such a level that you started to kind of get that kind of, recognition, which
Yeah.
I think is pretty special. Not a lot of businesses do that.
No,
So
that
I want to
was amazing.
congratulate you guys on that. I think
Oh,
that's pretty
thanks
cool.
a lot. Thank you. That was a
Thank
really
you.
fun night to just celebrate with the team and.
We actually had zero expectations of winning. In fact, they told us basically what you do is you apply and then you become a finalist and then you can win the next year. And we're like, well, that's good because we're taking our family to Europe and we won't even be here for the gala. And they were like, ooh, okay, well, it'd be great if you could come. And finally, they were just like, as the process went more and more, they're like, so about that trip, is there any way you guys could come home earlier? And we're like, why are they being so strict about this? They already told us we're not going to win.
Yep.
We're like, well, maybe they just need, I was one of the few women in the running. And I
Yeah.
know that is like some people do value having women represent entrepreneurs. Sure. So I'm like, well, maybe they just want the photo op. And all right, well, we can take an earlier flight. Let's just go. And so we landed and 6 hours later, we were all dressed up driving downtown with like the worst jet lag.
I was
We
gonna
were
say.
I could barely zip into my dress because we've been in France for weeks and, croissants and chocolate don't lend to formal wear. So we were kind of just in like a caffeine-induced haze when they announced our names and we were just like dumbfounded.
It
We
was
couldn't
really
believe
fun.
it.
It was fun to celebrate the team though, because we'd been kind of at it for a few years with this. Your early team like means a ton to you. So have everybody dressed up kind of fancy and celebrating was.
It was really
awesome.
a nod to the whole team because there's no way that we would have been able to accomplish what we did alone. We just have a really amazing team.
That's cool. So what do you guys, what's exciting for you right now? Like, what are you guys working on? Is it new products or is it just kind of making the process better or easier? Like what is it that kind of keeps you so excited and engaged in the business now?
I would say growth, more growth. With the launch of that video with Lisa Clark, that viral video, we had just huge spike in growth, and that was really exciting. But then it was followed by a pretty flat year. We took a gamble on some technology that didn't really pan out, and we had
She's
to kind
looking
of
at me again, guys.
No,
It's like this
saying,
family
right? That's what
tree,
happened, right?
cloud-based family tree
With a
social
robot.
network.
it was actually a different kind of robot. It was artificial intelligence, some software that was going to help people curate their camera roll. Okay,
Down the wrong tube.
it's okay. So people take gazillion photos, right?
Right.
And one of the beauties of Chatbooks, especially if you use Instagram as a photo source, is you're already curating your photos when you post to Instagram.
Right.
So you connect your Instagram account, and then we automatically print books with the photos that you already like.
Sure.
But what happens to all the other photos in your camera roll, right? It takes a little bit of work to go through
Right.
and choose, because I don't know about you, but if I'm taking a photo of something, I have to take 10 of them to get
Or
very
20.
Maybe 20 or 30.
Yeah.
Yeah. I looked through my wife's phone. It's like, what is
No, it's
this?
like
Okay.
it's like trying to find
It's
the keys in your
optimizing.
wife's purse.
Hey.
It's just like forget it.
You should know about
don't go there.
optimizing. Optimizing is a thing. So
Optimizing is a thing.
we built some software that would help people automatically curate your camera roll, and we spent a lot of money on it and a lot of time on it. And turns out people don't want a robot going in and messing with their photos.
But they would like driver assistance. So
Yeah.
it took us another little loop around the track. Like no one was ready to get into a Chatbook that was kind of like a driverless car, with no steering wheel or brakes. But we've landed on a thing that makes it really, really easy to make books out of those photos. And it's more like kind of turning on the dynamic cruise control and the lane keeper assist. You still have like your
I
driving
gotta get
control.
the dynamic cruise control. By the way.
That is a
Oh,
game
it's a-
changer.
My wife
Yeah.
has it in her minivan.
Yep.
It is awesome on
It's
that
great.
Vegas or California
It's a great
drive.
feature.
It's so good.
So nice.
So that's
Sorry.
what people want. They want that, not the driverless car. And we finally got back around to that.
Huh.
So how do you guys, is it all trial and error? Do you run like focus groups, or is it just we put it out there and, oh crap, that didn't work, let's try again?
We have an amazing new woman, an amazing woman leading our product team, our chief product officer that we hired a year ago. I say new because it's been about a year. She does it the right way. She goes out and gets a lot of research and talks to lots of people, builds prototypes, shows those prototypes, gets feedback before we build a huge, expensive contraption that nobody wants to use. My method
Intuition.
Yeah. So luckily we have Lauren Treasure is an incredible product person. She's our chief product officer, and we're just getting better and better at kind of building the right thing from the get-go versus having this big, huge project that we then find out if it works a year later.
Cool. That's awesome. So things are busy. Things are going well. You're finding a lot of success. And then you decide you're going to launch a podcast. Just throw something else on top of it.
Why not? No, look, one of the things that we want to do in the future is develop our community. So growth, that's our number one goal,
Yeah.
obviously. But we're looking at other direct-to-consumer businesses and looking at their valuations. And some of these businesses have like a 10x valuation on revenue. And like, why? How? Glossier, Outdoor Voices, Away. It's because they have this community that is larger than their customer base, and they're telling stories that a lot of people can relate to. And so you get them in the funnel way up here, telling them stories and giving them content that they can relate to. And then, one day you hope that they spill down the funnel and become a customer.
And let them join the mission and believe in the mission and care about the mission with us without having to do a project and buy a photo book.
Yeah, because you can care about strengthening families without buying a chat book.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we can talk all day long about how to strengthen families and why it's important to strengthen families. And so it was actually in a board meeting in May, and one of our board members said, you know what, we were talking about this concept of community and how can we strengthen our community. And he's like, I really think you guys should do a podcast. And that thrilled me and terrified me because I know I knew he was talking to me. And actually, the first idea was for Nate and I to do it together.
And I said no.
Really?
It took me
You
1
guys would
second.
be so great.
No,
Look,
no.
it
Vanessa's
would have
so
been a
much better without me.
nightmare
Trust me.
to do with him.
Trust me.
Mostly because he doesn't like people to tell him what to do. And as you guys know, doing a podcast is a lot of you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to be here, you got to get this done. And so I decided to do it without him. And
Good decision.
and I brought my sisters on because they're the
Oh,
most
your-
fun.
Your sisters are awesome.
And we're going to talk about stuff that moms care about, we know what moms care about because between the 5 of us, we have 30 kids. And we grew up in a family of 12 kids.
Right.
And we all mom differently. And we all are in different stages of mothering. We also Chatbooks has a Facebook group called the Mom Force, which is full of people, lots of who aren't customers. So we already had this community outside of our customer base there on Facebook. And so with my sisters, we've just been letting that Facebook group kind of guide where we go with content. And we just get together and chat once
And have awesome
a
guests.
week.
Vanessa's a
And
really good interviewer, and she preps so hard. I can't
it's
believe it.
hard. I need you to share me your secrets
She
because
reads-
I spend so much time prepping because I want to do a good job.
I have a good secret.
What?
Get a partner like Andrew. It's awesome.
I spent a lot of time prepping.
Okay, that's good to know
the prepper.
because you want to know everything about their story.
Yeah.
So that you ask the right questions.
For sure.
And I really value our audience's time, and so I want to make sure we get to the good stuff.
Well, I mean, they say the best inspiration comes from information, right? So
You and your
Vanessa,
quotes.
Vanessa
Got so
works,
many of them. It's
Vanessa
incredible.
works really hard to prepare for guests. I'm super impressed. With
I was
how hard she
working.
works
I have
at
an
it.
interview tomorrow, and I was writing questions
10
last
p.m.
night.
last night
and he's
in
like,
bed.
He's like, "Why are you still working tonight?" And I'm like, "Because I want to do a good job."
I felt really bad.
it was that's where a lot of these
Yeah.
stuff come 11:30, 12 o'clock last night. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm ready. So just spent a couple hours looking through
so
everything.
you understand me.
Oh, I get you.
And at 11 o'clock this morning, I looked at the calendar to see if we had a podcast.
Who are these guys?
And it said 11:30.
You got
I'm just
yourself a
kidding.
good
I sent a
gig
text
here,
to Cam. I said,
Cameron.
hey, do you remember we have a podcast today?
And I sent a thumbs up.
Yep.
Because you texted me 10 minutes after I looked.
But this is the thing. It is a lot of work.
For
but
sure.
I love it, and I'm willing to do it because I really care about
It's so fun.
our business. I want our business to grow. I care more about our mission.
Yeah.
And this is a way for me to lean fully into what our mission is. And then, like Nate said, we have some amazing guests on the podcast, and that's so fun for me. Those are like some pinch me moments. And
You've had 3 New York Times bestsellers in the last 3 weeks. Look at
Yeah.
you.
It's pretty good.
it's been fun.
We had
That's
one
awesome.
last week.
Yeah.
We've had, how many?
Everybody can get a New York Times bestseller.
Hey, Richie is awesome. Actually, Richie is Heather Mildenstein's brother.
Yes.
We were singing the praises of Heather Mildenstein,
Yeah.
our photographer,
Oh,
and the
are you
person that
serious?
started our social
Yeah,
media.
That guy was awesome.
Yeah,
Really
well,
his
it
sister
runs in their
is even
family
What
too.
a small world.
Really?
And their sister
Yes.
Chelsea was on our original like customer support team.
She's
No
awesome.
way. That whole
too.
family's
That whole,
amazing.
yeah, that's really true.
That's
Oh,
funny.
his laugh. I was listening to it this morning. It is so
It's
funny.
It's amazing.
So is your idea with the podcast to build Chatbooks, or is it its own standalone thing?
Oh, it's definitely in part of the plan to
Okay.
grow brand awareness and hopefully bring people into our Chatbooks family.
Yeah.
/funnel. But like, I'm really grateful that I don't have to run ads, even though I should probably be talking about our own product more often on our
Every now and then she
podcast.
mentions it.
I should mention it more.
You guys sell meat, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys talk
Yeah.
about meat on the podcast?
No, it's funny that you say that because
No one even.
We
no,
never
everyone
do it.
thinks that I work at the restaurant.
right.
Like everyone comes like, don't you work there? I'm like,
We're always like, yeah, we got to get some sponsors.
I
And
know,
I'm
we
like,
just
why
gotta
don't we
get
just say
people-
like I feed every guest and their whole family that comes in here. I'm like, I should start talking about Bam Bams. And so it like we did gift cards last week for the best review, and we got a ton of
Oh,
reviews.
that's a
Like
great
Ooh,
idea.
that is a good
It works.
idea.
we got some ideas we can share with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want
Sounds like
them.
some good
All right,
hot
now
tips.
I'm panhandling for reviews.
and
too.
that wasn't prepared. See, great stuff can
Yeah,
come from
good product
spur of the
placement
moment.
there, Cameron.
Spur
That
of
was-
the
you
moment
need
stuff.
a little
You-
yin and yang.
Well, and
You
that's I
compliment
think
It
each
was
that's
other
what
well.
makes
prepared
us
until you
different.
said it.
Right. And so we do play off each other well that way. And so, but I still think you guys should do a podcast together because you guys have, listen,
At least
this
do like-
may sound a
like once
little,
a month.
I'm a
come on
guest.
and be a
I'm actually a
guest
guest
host.
coming up, and I'm terrified about
For
it. 'cause
Valentine's
it's
week,
gonna be
he's
go.
my
the
special
worst.
guest.
I
I
do
love
not want to be in that room.
What do you guys think we should talk
No,
about that
stop.
week? I'm just curious.
Oh, my
I mean, I have some ideas.
I mean,
but-
obviously you're a pretty open book, right?
Me?
Yeah.
We're
No?
not.
You're not?
No, we're not, Cameron.
Well, I mean,
I mean,
I
I'll
know
tell-
that
I'll
when
give the
she
people
comes,
what they want.
or when you
I
come
know.
home from business trips, she's feisty.
Just
so
she's making that up. She's
No.
just doing that for yucks.
I think you guys, I mean, this sounds a little soft, I'm sorry, but you guys have a really cool relationship, and I don't know you guys, and
Thanks,
you can
Cameron.
totally see it. And so
Thanks,
it's
Cameron.
cool.
We've learned a lot in our 25 years of being married, but
Right.
we've known each other since we were 18. We survived the mission.
That's wow.
We've been through a lot. And Thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
we
I
might
mean
share
it.
some of our tips and tricks for
Oh, man.
having that special kind of
Well, we started
relationship.
Modest Shopping's podcast. We told them to do the same thing, and now they're just exploding, and they do a lot of marriage type
Yeah,
stuff. Jason and Brigitte Shammy, and so
I'll have to check that out.
There's just so many bad examples out there that it's refreshing
True.
when you see and hear good examples of how it can work.
Oh, thanks,
So-
I also think it's important to be real about it's not all roses and
for sure.
I ordered on Amazon 2 weeks ago a book. The title of the book is How to
about
Stop. Wait, what is it? I'm gonna get it right. Stop arguing and start listening.
Right.
I ordered that book for myself.
I've
And I
got 2
haven't
marriage
opened-
books in my backpack right now.
I haven't
It's all
opened
good.
it yet.
It's
So-
never too late to learn.
No.
And you know what? All of these
You never stop learning.
no, that is the
Well,
thing.
and
All of
women are a
these
moving target. You guys change like every year, and so I'm
Because
totally
we're always
kidding.
growing. Because we're always learning. Listen, one of the things that I love about interviewing experts on my podcast
Right.
is I read the book,
Sure.
and then I boil it down, and I have the conversations, and then he listens to the episodes.
It's true. I do.
Because if I were to say, "Hey, honey, listen what I'm reading in this book. You should be doing this, and we should be doing this, and it should be like this," you'd be like,
true.
not having it.
But
at you.
I play tennis on Wednesday morning in Salt Lake, and I drive home listening to the podcast.
That's the Harvard talking
And
right
I
there.
always
Tennis and salt.
no.
His
It's
tennis
just so I have a commute. I don't.
Pinky went up for some reason. I don't. It was weird. Anyways, I'm just kidding.
No, that's when I listen to the Mom Force podcast. Is on
Right.
the way home.
That's awesome.
It's
And
and I
you-
have to on it. I am always so dang impressed. Am I not? Don't I always call you and say that was so good? And I'm not making it up. It's that good.
Yeah.
Little imposter syndrome right there. Little self doubt.
Me?
You're kind of looking
Yeah.
down like, thanks, honey.
every single week, I'm like, oh my gosh.
How
is
come
anybody
compliments
there?
from spouses just don't count?
No,
Isn't
look,
that funny?
that
Good point,
actually
Cameron.
means a ton to me. It really, really
I
does
mean, a
because
Harvard
he's hard
grad.
to impress.
Like this guy's a smart dude. So that's a
They'll,
big deal.
they'll let anyone in that.
Whatever.
If you're willing to pay the
Listen.
ridiculous tuition,
It's an accomplishment. You know it.
well,
So-
I do. I love what Vanessa's doing with the podcast. I'm super proud of it. I think it's so exactly what our brand is about. So
Well, when you're
I'm
ready
glad
for,
you're doing it.
dad panel where we can, maybe answer some
yeah,
questions
a
for
word. That's definitely
all you moms that, I heard a
we
great
call-
episode lately. Have you ever heard of the podcast called The Femsplainers? It doesn't sound like a podcast I'd ever listened to, but it was the opposite. And there was an episode about that. It was kind of talking about what you talked about, how if your husband's the one working, you got to remember there may have been a lot of stress. So anyways, it
Yeah.
was kind of cool.
Well,
And so
even with us, I would
we've
say the
learned-
majority of our guests have
Are
been
women,
women.
we've learned a lot.
You know what I mean? So it's been interesting that coming at it from our perspective, because a lot of women entrepreneurs stick to each other, right? So it's women interviewing women and going on women's shows and going to women awards.
That's sexist,
You know?
is what it is.
But
I'm
it's
just
interesting that you can have some men interviewing these really powerful women and kind of our perspective of it. It's been awesome for us.
It's been so cool.
It's been super cool to be able to kind of see the other side of it.
That's
So-
awesome.
Because
It's
you're
been
right.
fun.
You guys just talk to each other.
Yeah.
What is the deal?
I don't feel like I'm
We're
in,
fun.
Really fun guys.
Men are
I
fun.
know. Hey,
really
I
fun guys.
know. I work with one.
That's right.
So where can everyone find you? We're going to wrap
I
up
thought you
because
were
you
going
guys
to say
got
one works for me.
It's true.
We work together. Hey, look, in
It's
the
true.
org chart, we are both at the very top. He's
That's
the CEO.
awesome.
And then I made up a title for myself and it just kind of floats over here right next to him. I'm the Chatbooker in chief,
I love it.
which means I get to work on what I think is important
Right.
and
And then not have to do the stuff she doesn't feel like doing.
not have direct
Right.
reports.
I'm excited for the Valentine's Day episode. I think you guys could teach people a lot.
Well,
Really?
I outlined a few things that I thought we could chat about, and he has approved it. So now we just need to spice it up with some stories. And
We
some
don't need
things.
the special.
Hey, it's Valentine's, baby.
No.
Maybe you need to have me and Andrew host that episode.
Hold on. Andrew has teed you up to hype Chatbooks.
Okay, where to find us? So we are in the App Store, or for your Android or for your iPhone, you can get the app. You can go to chatbooks.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Chatbooks. We're on Twitter even.
Okay.
For those,
Love it.
Those that are on Twitter. We answer support through all of our social media platforms. And obviously the podcast, the Mom Force podcast.
Yep.
wherever you
I'm going to
listen
start
your
listening to
podcasts.
this podcast.
So every Tuesday, right?
Every Tuesday, and I try to keep the episodes 30 minutes or shorter because I value mom's time.
Listen,
and
I think you need to just let it go. Just
let it
If
go.
you've got a good
let
guest,
it go. Yeah.
you just let it go.
Let it
'Cause
ride.
You're a fun person. Like I bet you have really good conversations.
You and your sisters are a good time. No one's going to get
Oh my
bored
gosh.
listening to you guys.
I want to come to a family reunion so bad.
Well,
Wait till you
as
meet the
Nate will,
brothers.
as
Oh,
Nate
I
will
can't
attest, the
wait.
family reunions can get a little out of control. Like, so you've got a glove up to your elbow, deep into a cow, testing for something.
We got to go
It's a
down
good
to
time,
the
guys.
Gator Park.
We got to get on the wild park in Florida.
I can't
Wild
wait.
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well,
Be
thanks
so
guys for
cool.
coming on. This was a ton of
Thanks
fun.
for having us.
So much
So
fun.
thank
Thank
you.
you.